So could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Raj Shah. I'm the administrator of USAID.
Great. And Dr. Shah, what is your reflection on the past 3 days at the Frontiers in Development Forum?
Well, it was a great forum. We had 3 women heads of state, we had great leaders from the private sector, and we had leaders from faith community and celebrities and local organizations around the world. I think my biggest reflection was just that really exciting things happen when those types of different communities come together to tackle a problem. Whether it's how do we get clean water to hundreds of millions of people, or how do we ensure that 1 billion people who have cell phones but don't have bank accounts can actually access financial services via cell phones. And it's really when you bring creative people together from different walks of life that you start to get some really cool solutions. So that was a lot of fun.
Definitely. And so now the next one's a little tough, but why is it that we live in a world where 1.4 billion people live in extreme poverty?
Well, you're right that 1.4 billion people live in extreme poverty, and they live, and the way we measure it is even incredible. We call that $1.25 of income a day, but it's really whether people are getting enough food to feed themselves and their family. Even this evening, 960 million people will go to bed hungry at night, and it's extraordinary. And the reality is we've made a lot of progress. If you look over the last 20 or 30 years, development has worked. Effort to move people out of hunger has worked. Efforts to save children's lives that we're celebrating today and taking forward has worked at large scale, but the problem is tremendous. And at the end of the day, countries have to lead. That's the starting point. And then private companies have to make investments. Donor partners like USAID have to do unique and innovative new things. And we just need more people connecting to this challenge around the world so that we can end poverty in our lifetime. That wouldn't have been possible 20 years ago. Today, it is possible, and that's how we should be thinking about tackling the solution.
Excellent. So that kind of brings me to my next question. What are some of the biggest successes that we've made in development?
Well, there are lots of successes, but some of the biggest ones have been when we came across different backgrounds and applied science and technology to do things differently. The fact that, a scientist in Mexico invented an improved form of wheat that led to a green revolution that moved hundreds of millions of people in South Asia off the brink of starvation and into a more dynamic, more modern economy. The fact that improved governance on the continent of Africa in about 14 to 16 countries has helped them grow at 6 or 7% every year, and they're leading the way in terms of the world's most rapidly growing economies. So we've had success stories all over the place that come from good governance, that come from new science. The mobile phone, I think, is the biggest development breakthrough of the past decade, with hundreds of millions of people that are very, very poor now connected to a global economy through that phone for the first time, getting text messages so that mothers know how to take care of their kids, or doing literacy games on there so kids can learn how to read even as they're playing a game on a phone. To just connecting people to their local economies.
Excellent. Yeah, I remember that panel.
That was
incredible.
Fun. That was a good
cool.
one. Yeah.
And so now, what was going through your mind when you were 20 years old?
When I was 20, I was a student at the University of Michigan. I probably had a lot of things going through my mind, mostly related to what I was going to do that weekend. But I didn't know when I was 20 what I would end up doing. I was planning to go to med school. I did go to medical school. And I knew that I had a lot of commitment and passion for this type of work. I always wanted to travel around the world and go to places where my family comes from India, and I had gone there as a very little boy and seen some things that just seared in my mind this image of people who were suffering, in urban slums outside of Mumbai, for example. And I knew I wanted to do something about that, but when I was 20, I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know what I could do to help do that. I'm so impressed with students now that care about this work. They're like doing things. They're joining NGOs, inventing new cool solutions, going online and learning about the problems. I didn't have the benefit to do all that. I wasn't smart enough to do all that when I was 20. So.
And so now, lastly, if you could give college students from the Millennium Campus Network one final piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say it's get engaged. I mean, this is a network that is packed with students, I think, across 70 organizations and 30 campuses.
Yes.
Your voice matters tremendously. If you articulate that this is important, if you make sure your elected leaders know this is important, if you get your local companies and businesses in your community to focus on and support these efforts, that'll make a big difference. As a student, I think if you can find an opportunity to go abroad and connect on a project somewhere, you're welcome to come to our website at usaid.gov and click on our new Universities and Students link that will help identify how people can get more engaged. Getting some experience in this work early can be tremendously helpful to you over time. And you have a group of people that are already deeply committed, so thank you.
Great, and thank you. This has been great. It was a
Good,
pleasure
thank you very
speaking with
much.
you, Dr.
Good,
Shah. Thank
good.
you.
Bye-bye.